Welcome. Over the Top Podcast. It's your boy HD here with the Over the Top Podcast crew. Here with you guys. Hey guys, again, and I always say this periodically. I know you probably get tired of hearing it, but we're gonna say it anyway. Thank you for supporting us on WDJY 99.1 FM. All our followers and listeners there, on our followers listeners on YouTube, the cast that's followed us on Facebook. Family, we just enjoy it. Thank you. It's definitely a benefit to us, and we love doing what we do to benefit you, the community. But that's who we got. Who we got with us tonight? What's up there, Q? What's going on there, buddy?
Hey, yesterday's price ain't today's price.
Never is, sir. Never is. Ron, what's the deal, man? What's going on your way?
Oh man, doing good. Maintaining.
Good stuff.
No, I'm gonna stop saying that. Abundantly blessed. That's what I am.
Abundantly blessed.
What
There
are we
you
doing?
go. That one all the time. I have, man. When I sold cars in sales, one of the guys say you're unbelievable. Now people don't know you're unbelievably good or unbelievably bad. It don't matter as long as you're unbelievable. So in their minds, you great. I'm unbelievable. So that's kind of cool stuff. Playmaker G, what's the deal, man?
Hey man, I'm doing great. Glad football season is back.
Gotta love it. Congratulations to all our NFC East winners. Go flags fly, and the little men and the Commanders and the Cowgirls. Oh, Cowboys. I'm sorry. Last but not least, Toya. What's up, Lady T? What's going on, young lady?
What up, though?
What's going on with you?
I'm good.
Like we always like to kick it off. Toya, what we have on deck for Ask Toya?
So we have a good Ask Toya tonight. Dear Toya, I am a divorced mother of 4, and before the divorce, I had a good relationship with my in-laws. My ex is not involved in my children's life, but as a parent, I want to make sure to keep a door open for his family. I don't want them growing up without knowing their family, but they seem to make everything so difficult. My kids, like your kids, are very active, so I invite my mother and father-in-law to everything they do. They hardly show up: birthdays, sports events, and performances. I'm consistently reaching out. His other family, I make sure to keep in touch and update them on what the children are doing and how they're doing, but I consistently get their ass to kiss. I don't know, nor do I care what my exes told them. I'm just trying to make sure my children know their family. Am I wrong for doing this? Should I stop trying? I'm just trying to keep the peace, not be petty, but this is frustrating as hell. How do you navigate this with your in-laws? Signed, just trying to do the right thing by my kids.
I'm going to you, RJ. What's your thoughts on that?
Listening to what's being said, there's always a dynamic when you deal with in-laws. And so one of the most confounding things that I have had happen in my life is bringing sets and groups of friends together to have a wedding. But imagine when that wedding or that union breaks up. And all those different personalities are a part of that children and that family. My thought process is, if you set out with good intentions to continue to rise above it, then rise above it. And there's going to be hard times in relationship to dealing with aspects of the things that you're doing, but you're doing it for your children, not necessarily for the people that are being petty or small. So continue to be not necessarily the bigger person, but continue to be the positive person. And know that there's going to be a lot of negativity associated with it, but you just have to make up in your mind and your spirit that you're doing this for your kids. And most of us will do daggone anything for our kids. So sacrifice your ego, subjugate yourself at times. Don't take full-on disrespect, but acknowledge the fact that you're dealing with people that are in ways deficient. And acknowledge that, respect that, but at the same time, continue to make the connections. And if it becomes, now here's the thing, it's a tipping point. There has to be a point that you know that is beyond repair. And if it's a point beyond repair, then you make the decision to cut that relationship off. But you have to do that.
Kill your thoughts.
keep inviting them. And when they don't show up, they don't show up. Because the kids will eventually be like, well, hey, why aren't they showing up? I don't know. I'm inviting them. They're not showing up. That takes almost everything out of your hands. You say, hey, I invite them. They're not here. They're not here. If they do show up, they do show up. Well, they can do. They said, oh, y'all never invited me this year. Yes, we did. I got screenshots. I got the receipts. You didn't show up for whatever reason. Y'all didn't want to show up. No time, make it my fault now. I invited y'all.
Playmaker.
Yeah, I have to echo basically the same thing that Q and RJ said. I mean, keep being consistent. At a point in time, your child's going to recognize your energy and understand the effort. And if they want to start taking over that, once they get a little bit older, to try to reach out and try to connect, they will. If not, then you've done your job of trying to at least keep that bridge open. And sometimes things happen. With my mom and father divorced, I lost a little bit of a contact with my father's side of the family. It wasn't because of my mom didn't keep them involved. It was just because they lived states away. And when I became a little bit older, I tried to reconnect to that side of the family. We're not as close as my mom's side of the family, but we still have a relationship. So sometimes it's just keep it going until the kid can establish it and create it for himself.
I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna let Toya get the last. This is the Ask Toya, but so I agree with each and every one of you, but also try to take out the emotion. Don't get too emotionally attached to that, because one thing I know with people, if they see you struggling, they like to see you in that place, and they'll poke you to that. So kind of be careful with them when you're dealing with them, lost the family. But again, invite them if they come. Hey, take them most. Hey, I tried to invite you. This is what we're doing. Please come aboard. But like Ron said, it's a distance to that. It's a distance become over and beyond to them trying to use or take advantage of you. So, but I do think you should continue to invite. And if they don't like you, that's fine. But like Quinn said, when the kids grow up, they gonna keep the checks and the receipts. So keep trying. Remember to put the kids first, because the kids is what's most important in the bigger scheme of things. So that's my thought. What's your thoughts, Toya? You can wrap up.
I agree with all of you. She asked, how do I navigate the situation? I'm actually closer to my mother-in-law than I was when I was married. I try to talk to her as often as possible. I invite, and my mother told me this, always invite. If, like Q said, if they show up, they show up. If they don't, just keep inviting. So you can never say, somebody can say something, but well, I invite, that's on you. So my mother-in-law shows up for everything, her and her husband. If she can't, she lets me know. She's very involved in the girls' lives. And I love that. And I love her for that. Now, the other side, like in her side of the family, they're all involved. They're all worried and involved in the girls' lives. But the other side of the family, I'm like you. I invite, I let them know what's going on. Some care and some don't. But I don't have that kind of energy right now in life. So I've done what I'm supposed to do. If our energy is not matching, my kids will be all right. They have amazing family. They have amazing village. They're good. They're good.
Well, one thing you also can do.
Express yourself.
One thing y'all can do is if the kids are old enough, you have the kids calling ass. Hey, I'm having a birthday party Sunday. You coming? I don't know. see how that works. See how that works.
I just feel like if you're inviting, you're putting it out there, you're trying to make the effort, just keep inviting. You've done what you were supposed to do on your side. Like you said, you don't know what your ex told them. I know there's a lot of things that have been told about me. I don't care about that. It's not about you. It's not about him. It's about the kids and their upbringing. As long as they're healthy, happy, and active, that's all that matters. And honestly, your kids probably like mine don't care. too much. They have their circle, they have their village, they are good. But good question. As always, I thank you all. Please know that we are getting to the Ask Toya is full. Like, I don't even think I can get any more emails right now, like trying to go through and move them over so that I can delete and make room for more emails. So I appreciate y'all for all the support, for all the Ask Toyas. We're trying to get to them every week. And if you do have a question, you can DM me on TikTok at TOIAEL or Facebook at Toya Mitchell. And then always ask Toya, TOIA 74 at gmail.com. Thank y'all so much.
Good stuff, fam. So hey, look, tonight we're gonna go over the Reconstruction period. I thought about this after we did the Juneteenth podcast a while ago. If some of the school districts in our lovely country did not want to teach us our history, we're daggone. I have a platform and a format that I can walk through a little bit of history for us. Isn't that all right? we if we don't teach it in the school, we got to teach it on our on my platform. So that was our platform, not mine. It's our platform because I'm just a vessel in this thing. But so tonight we're gonna go the Reconstruction period. So the Reconstruction period refers to the immediately after the Civil War from 1865 and lasted until about around 1875, a little bit longer. Its main goal was to rebuild the nation after the war on regenerate the former Confederate states and address the social, political, and economic impacts of slavery. During this period, Congress passed 3 congressional amendments that was permanently abolished slavery, which is the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Throughout the South, the Black community joined with other white allies to strengthen actually the Republican Party. Blacks also during that time, free slaves during that time, organizing urban leagues and defend each other in organizations and boycotts and strikes to prevent the plantation owner from imposing slavery-like conditions in the Black community. They also organized Black political conventions demanding the rights to vote, school, fair wage, and land. They marched, protested, and flooded Congress with petitions. Resolutions of their efforts was success. During that time, another Black history fact, there were 16 African Americans that served in Congress during the Reconstruction era, including 2 senators, Blanche K. Buse and Hiram Rose River, and John Willis Menard. Wins the election to the U.S. House of Representatives to become the first African American to be elected to Congress. However, he never took office because his losing opponent challenged the election outcome. So that's the premise. Q, we're gonna start with you. When you look back over this period, what do you think Blacks was feeling at this time, being freed and making advancements in politics?
The same way they do now. You feel like we're making progress. You feel like we're taking us up in the right direction. And then they say, and then there's a group of people that say, you know what? No more learning about slavery. I feel like, it always feels like it's a 2 steps forward, 15 steps back, which is not a good thing. I shouldn't have to tell people it's not a good thing, but some people are. What's a nice word I can use here? Stupid. Some people are stupid.
Okay, good stuff. RJ, I'll go with you. How do you think the black family structure was doing this time?
To me, at at that time, Reconstruction, the rebuilding of America, so to speak, the Black family was actually very strong. Because economically, it was important for us to functionally lean on each other, support each other, and be together with one another. That first almost 100 years after that, and on into the 60s, we have been really solid and really consistent in the establishment of family units. We've solidified ourselves in terms of our base and ability for us to maintain and be the best we could be. and we pursued Black excellence. It wasn't until government intervention and a number of different things and a number of outside forces that we kind of lost that essence of the importance of the family. So I felt like our families were extremely strong. And it was important for us to be together because we had circumstances and situations that identified that we had to be connected.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Toy, you want to piggyback, you can, but I'm gonna come with you with this question. Well, Ron did a great job explaining how the family structure was, but how do you feel with the role of the Black church during this time?
So the Black church was the major achievement during Reconstruction. The Black church was, first of all, that we bought land to build churches. We were starting to have schools in churches. And we know during Reconstruction, a lot of our HBCUs were created. And so that the Black church was the vitalization of Reconstruction. It's where you went for education. It's where you went to worship. But it also is where you went to have meetings. It's where you it housed schools, social events, political events, like we said. That's where we, at that time, we could vote, we could run for office. Black ministers became a major role during Reconstruction. And so the church was everything. And like I said, the schools and teachers were educated, Black teachers were educating during that time. We know that Shaw University is one of the oldest religion is the oldest, I'm sorry, not one, but is the oldest HBCU religious school. And a lot of ministers came out of there. We know that Livingstone is also one. So the AME Church and the Baptist Church, the AME Zion Church is the Freedom Church. So it helped to get people on their feet when they came out of slavery and into freedom. And so it played a major role. It played a major role all the way up to, civil rights. Go ahead, Ron.
I want us to understand one thing, though. There's a number of different things that Reconstruction represents, but it also represents, when you start talking about those elected officials, a true opportunity at the American dream and the collective ability for us to represent and vote for ourselves. And so the power of that was really scary sometimes to me is when this country truly lives up to the virtues that are part of the Constitution, it always gets right up to that edge and pulls all the way back.
Right.
And it's so powerful to see that there were so many congressmen elected to public office at a time prior to the full influence of Jim Crow.
Right.
And that's what we had to, the system worked.
Right.
and
it's not often working for us. That's an interesting thought.
Good thought. Good thought.
Because, like you said, like Quentin said, it takes it. You get 2 steps forward, and it takes it away. But it's just the fact that is a history that a lot of people don't know. We don't know that Charleston, South Carolina, had some of the most Black representation in Congress and as representatives that there were during that time.
Right.
The history is something that, like you said, is being lost, and the Black church was part of that foundation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. G, if you want to pick it back on that, you can. But I'm gonna come with you with this, Playmaker. As we look back on this period, it seems that we did have more representation in Congress than we had in recent decades or years in past. If these trends would have continued, how much more advanced do you believe Blacks would be politically in today's society?
I think that question has already been answered with some of the comments that Ron, Toya, and Q made. Right now, we sit at 62 Black congressmen, so we're looking at 11.5 total membership. So we're somewhat in line of what our population is. But as we saw back then during those times, you had voter intimidation. So it was, even though we had the right to vote, people were being intimidated in some places and did not vote. You had a lot of a lot of tactics that was used against us to try to suppress us with voter suppression. And then when you look at 2023, you see voter suppression is going on even now. You see that intimidation factors are being in place now. That's why we got people going up for the RICO. You know, it's just, it is a cycle. And I think that when you say how far we could have gone, I think that because what Ron said, as a collective, they'll let us go so far, but then as the majority kind of says, okay, well, this is too far, let's pull back. And you see that with affirmative action. Hey, I realize something is wrong. We need to kind of create something to kind of help equal the playing field. Okay, it's been going on for a couple of years, let's pull that back. You see a lot of those different examples all throughout history.
You do, you do. So we're gonna stay on task. I don't want to get divert yet, but great points, great points. That trouble is the Freedmen's Bureau was established by Congress to provide practical aid for 4 million new freely African Americans and their transition from slavery to freedom. The name William Terman Sherman issued an order, Order 15, setting aside land in South Carolina and Georgia for black families, establishing the famous promise of 40 acres and a mule for the in emancipation, for the emancipated. But the order was short lived, and because in 1865 Lincoln died of a victim of assassination. We wonder why. And the Vice President Andrew Johnson became the 17th president who was a slave owner, overturned the order before the end of the year and returned the land back to the slave owners and that who originally owned it, slave owners and traders who originally owned it. The value of the 40 acres and a mule for those 440,000 free slaves would have been worth today $640 billion today. The Reconstruction spawned white supremacist organizations in the South, such as the Ku Klux Klan, and developed black codes and designed to replace the social controls of slavery and assume the contentants of white supremacy. In March 2nd, 1877, the disputed electoral votes are awarded Hayes, who declared the winner as a bargaining to reach on which the Republican Party agreed to end the military administration in the South effectively ended. That's when most of our blacks turned from voting Republican back to Democrat because they released the soldiers back from our protection. And the Compromise of 1877 effectively ended the Reconstruction era. Southern Democrats promised to protect the civil and political rights of blacks. People was not kept, and political rights of blacks people was not kept. And the end of the federal interference in the South affairs led to widespread disenfranchisement of black people. Quentin, I'm coming with you with this. Do you believe that this was the start of the mistrust between blacks and the government?
I'm pretty sure the start of mistrust began when Americans went over to Africa and said, "Hey, come to America, you'll get free room and board." I'm pretty sure they stopped trusting them after that.
Facts.
There has not been any trust in the government, no matter who we vote in.
True that.
People say, once you say, "Hey, we're going to vote Joe Biden in," they say, "Well, do you like him? No? Do you trust him? Not really? Is he better than Trump? Possibly."
Facts. Good points. T, I'm coming to you. If reparation was paid during that time, what positions do you think blacks would be in America today?
The same we in now. So during that time, without reparations, that was the life of African Americans. So we had over 114 million acres of land. Black farmers averaged between the 19th and 20th century $356 billion worth of land. But what happened to that land? Why don't we still have that land? So then you wonder why there was a migration of African Americans to the north, because the land was stolen. Because, white folks get jealous. Now Black farmers are less than 7% of agriculture today. At that time, we were the highest in agriculture. We had a lot of land, but laws came into place. The Ku Klux Klan came into place. And they would steal the land, they would lynch. This is when the Jim Crow laws came into. So landowners were getting lynched, and then you have the taxes can't be paid, or the loans that were given in the wrong way, so you couldn't pay them back. So you lost your land. And then you have heir laws. So if you had an heir, that wasn't, because a lot of people coming out of slavery, of course, didn't have birth certificates. They didn't have papers because, they were slaves. Your birth was written where? In a Bible. That is how births were, shown back then. So then those laws came into play with the banks. So if you were killed, if you were lynched, your family literally could not take that land, because how could you prove, of course, that land was yours? That's just a niche in how they take the land away. So the land would have been taken anyway, because if you're making more money than the next poor farmer, the poor white farmer, of course, he's going to get a mob together. And this is when we weren't able to be in offices anymore. But who was in offices? You had those poor white people being sheriffs and police and stealing land. So there was a migration because you didn't want to die. So you migrated to the north. And we, like Ron always says, we lost the land. We went away from the land. And that's something we need to get back to, the land.
Playmaker, I'm gonna call you a little off script. I'm gonna talk either you and Ron. You or ain't Quinn. Anyone of you guys answer the question. I'm just gonna pose a question, and anyone want to jump in, you can. And it's kind of off script. But we go back and look at Reconstruction. Was we even prepared? We're not. Was our ancestors prepared for that level of freedom? Because it seemed like we wasn't prepared for that. What's your thought? Think we were prepared to go out and be more self-sufficient? What you thought? Anybody? Let's go with anybody. Let's go with you, RJ.
There was no way effectively to identify what was going to happen, because you didn't know what was going to happen with the Civil War. It wasn't until maybe the last 6 months to a year of the Civil War that you knew that there was a turn, and that effectively there was going to be an enhancement. But what is war? It's the functional disruption of everything generally within inside of a country if it's a civil war. So and when you reflect on the economics of that, the economics didn't serve the North, but the economics served the South. So that's why they went to war. Money is always the precipitating factor, right? So if we identify that based upon what I just said, the monetary aspect of it, I always tell one of my friends, I said, man, ism is the business part of racism. Germans don't call themselves white.
Right.
British don't call themselves white. White was developed here in the 1600s to support racism. So we must understand that aspect of it. Racism is economic. It's not necessarily, it ain't even about hatred to a certain degree. To some aspect of it, it's just economics. And for this country to exist and to function, they need some form of permanent underclass. And by our skin color, we can always be identified, and we can always have somebody point the finger at us. Mm-hmm. Now, do I think all Caucasian people are bad? No, I don't. However, there are people that stand with some of the things that take place that are part of the problem, and that's a concern.
Right. Quinn, I'm asking you a little off the script question. When you look back over that history, do you think that was the strongest our community was when we really had to we the idea of not having nobody else to depend on but us, was that if do you think that's the strength of Black resilience we go through today, because we had to go through that period and through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow? Do that still holds true in our daily lives as Black community of strength or resilience? What's your thoughts on that?
I would say the strongest the strongest African Americans have been as a collective was the day after George Floyd died.
George Floyd?
George Floyd died. The day after that was the African Americans as a collective were the strongest.
Okay.
I mean, you have people marching all over the country for something to happen in Minnesota. Most people didn't even know there were Black people in Minnesota outside people who are on the sports teams.
Okay. Yeah, playmaker. I'm gonna come at you with that same question. I'm eager to see yours.
Like you need to come around.
Yeah. Let me throw that back out there. See what we can catch.
I think it's difficult to point to one period because there's so many periods in which we had to be strong. When you talk about to survive the trip over from Africa to here, we had to be super strong just to withstand those conditions. When you talk about when we first got here and the conditions that we had to go through during slavery, you had to have some of the strongest, and we had to depend on each other just to make it through the night in some cases. And then when you go through the Reconstruction period, yes, but I think there's also some other periods throughout history. When you talk about the Black Panthers, the civil rights, all of those times in history, we have all came together and done some amazing things to kind of move forward when we are together and moving in one accord. I think now when you look at things, I think we're a little bit segregated or separated, so we all don't all have the same political agenda. We all don't have the same social agendas because we're not all in the same community. So I think we're a little bit divided unless something like the George Floyd comes up and everybody's like, hey, let's all get together again. But on the day-to-day basis, I think, people are a little bit scattered in today's time. So to say what era was the strongest for us, I think is just very difficult. I think you could say that we were strong throughout many times throughout our history.
Okay. You want to add anything to that, Toya?
I think that's the design, isn't it? That we are on different levels now. Isn't that the design? That's what they wanted. I always say it's reverse Willie Lynch. So I feel like civil rights was, all right, give them what they want. Let them move where they want to move. Let them go to the schools that they want to do. Because what is this going to do? It creates separation. It creates chaos. And it puts us on different levels, like you said, G. I feel like the strongest we're doing Reconstruction in Jim Crow because we had our own communities. We built our own churches. We built our own schools. The public school system was started because we built our own schools. So little white kids needed to go to school too because little Black kids was more educated. That is literally why they started the public school system. We were doing things that they couldn't do. We always do things that they can't do. Even as slaves, they needed us because they couldn't do it. They didn't know the designs. We've created cities for them. We've built a whole country for them. And when we had our own communities, when we had our Rosewoods, when we had our Wall Streets, when we had our Durham, when we had here in Charlotte, Brooklyn, a $20 bill did not leave our community at all. It would rotate and rotate. So what did they need? And what do they get now? They get all of our dollars all the time. We are the highest spenders in this country. They needed those Black dollars because their economics was going down. And those poor white people were jealous. So that's why they burned down our and killed us and lynched us because they needed those dollars. So somebody whispered into a good Negro's ear during civil rights and said, well, look, y'all want to vote and y'all want to do this. Well, this is what you need to do. Okay. But what happened? What happened during that time? The Black family was separated. That this 13th Amendment, you know, when it was put in place, still made you a slave anyway if you did the smallest thing. And we left our communities because we can go live in the big houses now on the other side of town. And so I think too, for our generation, we became a little bit complacent because we were born with everything. Whereas in 2 generations before us, the Black excellence, like you said, we still had to be Black and excellent, but we were given things that our parents weren't given. Some of us are the first to graduate high school. In 2023, there are still kids, African-American kids, being the first to graduate from high school because the community was broken down so much. Our neighborhoods was infiltrated with drugs and guns and alcohol. Crack cocaine came into play. And then you have cities burning. And you have warfare. We have great things. We always come together. We are a magical people. But now, like you said, we are separated. Some of us think we're high and mighty and we're better. We're so affluent. And we need to get back to that community sense of ourselves that we once had, where Black excellence exists all the time. And our money was our money. It's just like today, I just found out this happened 2 months ago. The Chick-fil-A here in Harrisburg, there was a little girl who was sent home because her hair, she had braids and it was blonde. And her manager said, your hair does not represent, you know, our way. It's not the color. So when you go back and get the right color, literally this was the color of this Black child's hair. Her natural hair is blonde, but the ignorance of it, thinking that we can't be natural blondes or we can't have gray and blue eyes, which we can, because that's the beautiful thing about being Black. We can create white, but you can't. You can't create Black. But they send her home because North Carolina doesn't have a Crown Act yet. Been put out there several times over and over again, but it just hasn't been passed as a law yet in North Carolina. Because why would they? Why would they? Still in the South in 2020.
You know what, though?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna put this out here. What you said was powerful, but I'm gonna tell y'all something. A lot of what we're dealing with is a construct Nelson D. Rockefeller wanted to create here in America. And so when you identify the construct was meant to pit poor people against poor people and to enhance the ability for rich people to grow and make money. When you look during COVID, they made money. When you look at the 80s and 90s, they made money. So what does that effectively tell you? My grandfather told me some 35, 40 years ago, it's not about black and white. I hate to say it. We're instruments. It's about rich and poor. And they want to separate us, and they want us to be looking at each other side-eyed and hating each other all the time with the thought process so they can divide and conquer. Well, we must understand, there are certain realities that are a part of what we're dealing with. There are certain realities. There are white folks that are just going to hate us just because of our skin. But there are aspects of this thing that is really deeper than the fact that, man, it's an economic play. Mm-hmm. And everything that they do is always an economic play. So that's the part that we need to become educated to. What's the economics of it? And when you understand that part, then you create the ability for you to mobilize and move to that next step. And that goes back to what Hank said in that question before. I think because we're reactive and not proactive, we tend to be behind the 8 ball. And we need to be more proactive in it instead of being reactive.
Right. I'm gonna stay with you with this question because we kind of rolling through. And great job, great answers, guys. Oh my God, great answers. But let's do this. The compromise of 1877 was when the Republican Party poured out the National Guards from the South, leaving the blast in the hands of white supremacists in the South. And the Democrats didn't step in to ask the aid or protect blacks during that time neither. Do either party look out for our best interests? Do you think either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party do it look out for our best interests? We throw that, Ron. And anybody else want to jump in after you can. Boys, what's your thoughts on that?
I'll jump in. I guess he was muted. I believe there is a minority of people who look out for the minorities. The problem is that minority people doesn't get a majority of the money, so the minorities usually stay minorities until they start something, and then everybody wants to say, "Oh, I always support them," when in all actuality, y'all didn't support them, and that's kind of into why people think Black Lives Matter and LGBT rights are political. No, those are just human rights, but they want bigger people to care, and when the political people care, that's when it becomes a political issue. But to swing back, minority people actually care about the minorities because it doesn't make them any money.
Good point. So what do you say about that, RJ?
Hey man, I'm just gonna throw this down here. The compromise of 1877, the removal of all remaining military forces from the former Confederate states. At the time, U.S. troops remained in Louisiana, South Carolina, and Florida, but the compromise completed their withdrawal from the region. Second, the appointment of at least one Southern Democrat to Hayes' cabinet. Third, the construction of another transcontinental railroad through the South and Texas. Fourth, legislation to help industrialize the South restore its economy following Reconstruction. And the fifth, the right to deal with African American citizens in the southern states without northern interference. Now, if you look at all those besides the first two, the next three conditions that are part of the compromise were economics. Think about what I'm saying. Racism is always based on economics.
Right.
So if we identify the economics of it, then we can get ahead of the curve. In all true honesty, man, we need to really truly understand that these wealthy folks have identified and played on our worst insecurities. And they continue to do that without fail. Our problem is we've not understood the value of who we are as human beings. And I'm going to tell you something. Get a little bit off topic for a second. That's why they want to depopulate America. That's why they want to depopulate the world. Because when people really actually realize the power that they truly have, what's going to stop them from affording these people to continue to victimize all of us? Just a thought.
Valid point. But I kind of want to stay in the political realm. So I'm gonna come to you again. But I gotta go to Gary. They'll match it. Do you think any both of the political parties is out for our best interest?
Are you going to Gary?
I'm going to Gary. I come back to you. I'm going to Gary. Go ahead.
So I think that the only time that it is at the forefront is when they're trying will put together a campaign if they think we're going to come out and vote. If they don't think we're going to come out and vote, or if it's going to be split, I think they kind of leave it out there to kind of float around. But if they think it can have an impact or can be a turning point in either a local or bigger elections, I think they will start trying to gear toward getting quote unquote the black vote. And I think that
what's your thoughts on that, RJ?
That's the calculus. That's the calculus that caused Hillary Clinton to lose.
Hey, we were cool with Hillary. We were cool. We were cool with her hubby. Her hubby played the sass.
No, but you know what though? I think we really underestimate how good of a politician Bill Clinton was. Bill Clinton is probably the best politician of the last maybe 50 to 100 years. Yeah, Gary. He was, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Gary said, "No, sir."
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna give you a couple of facts.
Break it down.
If you look at the welfare reform, you know who facilitated that? Bill
Who
Clinton.
did? Yeah,
Bill Clinton.
yeah.
He was the first one to essentially go through the process of attacking entitlements and supporting aspects of things that Republicans tried to do years ago. He facilitated it, yet still he indebted himself to us as quote unquote. Some people was calling him the first black president, and people continuously voted for him. So if you really reflect, I'm just putting one blurb out there. There are a number of different things. The crime bill on his watch. All these things.
Speaking of the crime bill, now, I mean, was it him or was it him? Was his lovely wife called her super predator? One of them.
I don't disagree with. But see, she was trying to make a political point for herself. So the thought process we must understand. That's why I say about the power of politics and Bill Clinton and mass media now. They've, in all true honesty, no party really truly represents the interests of people to me. Because if you really ask a lot of the Republicans, the Republicans and the Democrats, they're voting the lesser of two evils most times. They don't totally agree with any of the things that these men or women represent. It's very rare that you find a candidate that you can effectively get on board with. And I haven't seen one. Bill Clinton, probably the first time he was elected, was the closest I've been. Obama, that was emotional. But outside of those two, I don't know to say that there's been a politician in our time that we didn't vote for the lesser of two evils.
Right. So we're gonna go to the round table. Make it quick. Go ahead, Tori. You can add it, then we go down.
No, I'm saying if he said in our time, we have to in our time.
In our time.
I agree with that.
So Tori, start with you. Just do the round table because we're about 10 minutes out, so we got a little time before we go to our final thoughts. So what's your thoughts on the Reconstruction period as a whole had on our Black history?
I think it's a big part of our history because you have a group of people, of enslaved people who are now free, and they educated themselves. Well, they educated themselves. Reading was illegal for slaves, but you have, those Nat Turner minds, and it lets you know that the intelligence is like, we're in football season right now. We got a lot of Black quarterbacks. Well, at one time they said we weren't smart enough to be quarterbacks, but we're smart enough to do anything. And we've proven time and time again that regardless of how down you might take us, we will always build ourselves back up. So I think it was a very important time. It's a part of history that should be taught in the deepest, because the things that were created out of Reconstructions, the things that we did out of Reconstruction, even as in running for office and getting out there and getting votes, even like when G said, they were trying to suppress the vote. They were trying to stop the votes, but we still got the votes. Our tenacity, our magical tenacity is amazing, even to today. And I think that a lot of our young people need to recognize that, so that and that's not to say that we don't have amazing young people, because we do, but you don't see the amazing because of social media. But there's amazing young people out here doing amazing things. There's amazing young people like the brothers in Memphis doing amazing things for their community. If we can keep that type of, instead of when they get higher up on the political platform and it kind of changes them, maybe they don't change, then those brothers are going to be amazing for our community and for our young people. Yeah.
Right. And I'm while I got you, go give me your last word so we can go, because the time gets slipping by. What's your last word tonight?
My last word again is vote. We just had a primary vote here, and only 8% of us. This is for mayor and our council officers. 8% of African Americans voted.
Get out and vote.
You want things?
Get out and vote. Q. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I said you want change. Get out and vote.
That's right. Q, what's your thoughts on how the Reconstruction period had on Black history, and your last thoughts, sir?
I was only ready for the last thoughts. I wasn't ready for that first question. I have
What's your last thoughts? What's your last thoughts? Go ahead. Go with your last thought.
my last thoughts were to the parents who have children going off to college or even going off into the more adult world. Your child is going to wild out. There's nothing you can do to stop that. What I will say is that does not mean to shelter your child from what the world is going to do to them, because the world's going to world, and you stopping that is not going to stop the world from worlding. What I will say is teach your children the safe ways, the ways to stay safe, and what to look out for. If I'm on a college campus now, and I bet there's parents here like, "Oh, my child wouldn't do that." Yes, ma'am, your child will.
Good stuff. Good stuff. RJ, final thoughts and last words, man.
Reconstruction was, man, I've been trying to find the words for this. Reconstruction was the true representation of when this country could effectively live out the content of that creed that was presented in the Constitution. But it also represents the aspects of things that are the devil-dealing things that are part of the apparatus that is this government. So you got the good and the bad of it. My final thought is, man, stop taking stuff at face value. There's depth. Look for it. I have a friend of mine, he's always talking about, man, I can control what I can control. Yeah, you can do that too. But also see the higher power and see the things that are surrounding the things that are happening and impacting you. And maybe they give you a different perspective. That's
Playmaker.
So I'll be quick because I know we're limited on time. Kind of piggybacking on what Toya said, I think that during this time in history, people were engaged. And I think that's one of the things that we're kind of missing now is that level of engagement. You have people who were, even though they had a lot of struggles to vote, still wanted to get to cast their votes. And now you have people who don't vote because it's not convenient to their schedule. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I get from one of these type periods in time. And then for my final thought, I'll do a quote from President Barack Obama. Change will come if we wait for change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek.
Amen.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey guys, my final thoughts on the Reconstruction period. What a great period in history that we finally were free. But that was the first time that America could have done the right thing. That's the first time in history, whereas America could have did what they were supposed to do. And who would know how this world would turn out since 1877? Let's look at it. You paid the slave owners reparations, and here we are still hundreds of years later, still looking for that 40-acre and a mule to plow behind. So, but it was the first time America had opportunity to do the right thing by us and didn't. So, but I think that was an important part in our history, and I definitely seen a lot of highlights of the Black family structure in our history. So, great point in our history. Great discussion, guys. My last thoughts: be careful of the firefighters in your life. If you have an idea or you have something going on and somebody throwing water on it, be careful. Get the people out your life. If you say, "Hey guys, I'm gonna start this business," or I don't know if you can start a business, you know that's hard to do. Firefighter, counsel them. Oh man, I'm gonna go out and lose weight. Oh, you know you can't get off that sugar. Wait a minute, counsel them. Anytime somebody tell you something that you can't do, those are firefighters. Let us get all the firefighters out of our lives. Hey guys, what a great show. We love you. We thank you. And like always, guys, may your next move be the game changer. Peace.